Welcome to the Teach Joyfully podcast, where we talk about all things elementary teaching with some mom stuff thrown in. I'm Lisa Burns, a teacher success coach, veteran elementary teacher, and mom of 5. I'll be your host. Thanks for joining me today. Don't you just love it when you find simple things that have a huge impact on your teaching or your classroom or your students' learning? I love that. Well, I have 5 simple things for you today that will have a huge return on your investment come back to school time. And they don't take long. It will barely even make a dent in your summer relaxation. So let's dive right in. My first one is plan for a 10-minute tidy every day. What is a 10-minute tidy? You might have heard me talk about this before, but if you're new to this concept, let me explain. I do a 10-minute tidy at the end of every single school day. This started actually in my home when my own kids were little. We started doing a 10-minute tidy at the end of our day so that when my kids went to bed, I had a calm, clean house that I could sit down in and not feel like after my kids went to bed, I had to pick up and clean up and do all this work just to find the headspace to be able to truly relax. Well, the same is true in our classrooms. So often we wrap up our day in a frantic rush and we take our kids out to car line or the bus or wherever it is that they're going at the end of the school day, and we walk back into our classroom a little while later and we think, oh, the place is a disaster. First, I have to clean up before I can even get any of my other work done, right? And it's exhausting because you're already tired. There's no reason for this. Having your students help you clean up at the end of the day is really beneficial to both you and to them. And here's why. Your students will take ownership and pride in their classroom if they are accountable for helping clean up. It's a group effort and a team effort, and it makes you a team also. It gives you the headspace to walk back into your classroom and just dive into whatever else you need to get done so that you don't have to clean up first, because that's exhausting and we're tired enough as it is. So here's how a 10-minute tidy works. Set a timer for 10 minutes at the end of your school day, and everyone helps clean up, including the teacher. We all get busy cleaning up first our own spaces and then all the other spaces in the classroom. And literally, it's work as hard as you can to clean every single thing up in 10 minutes. And it is fast and furious and very effective. So all those teaching materials and everything you've managed to set down all over the classroom or on top of your desk or wherever it is that you tend to set things, you're going to clean that up first. Your students are going to clean their own space up first, and then they clean the floor and all the other materials around the classroom that they have used. When 10 minutes is up and that timer rings, you finish the last thing that you just started and you walk away, each and every one of you. And that's it. It's super effective and it's done. It's an amazing routine that you can do every single day. Number 2, their paraphrase. You need to have a paraphrase. What is a paraphrase? If you haven't heard this one, a paraphrase is something that you say when your students miss the mark. Maybe they're misbehaving or they didn't get things done the way they were supposed to. Whatever it is, whatever rule they've broken, this is your chance to have something to say that is both appropriate and buys you time to deal with it without saying something that you'll regret later. So, for example, a paraphrase I often use is, "Oh, that was an unfortunate choice. You'll need to go to time out and I'll be with you in a minute." That's it. It can be that simple. I don't have any emotion in my voice. I'm not excited. I'm not sad. I'm not anything. I'm just very neutral. And that's it. It's really simple. I have a paraphrase worksheet that you can grab. It's free and will help you develop your own paraphrase. And then you need to practice, practice, practice. Why do we practice? Because we want it to be automatic so that you don't even have to think about it. You want it to be the first thing that pops out of your mouth. Number 3, Schedule your free time now in your calendar. And what I mean by that is you need to decide what your non-negotiables are as far as your time goes. So often as teachers, we put ourselves and our free time on the bottom of our list. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to fit in a little bit of self-care time or free time for ourselves, when in fact we should have put it on our list first. So when you get your calendar out, I want you to decide what it is that's non-negotiable. Maybe working on weekends is a no-go for you. Maybe working on weekends is a no-go unless it's report card time. Maybe for you, bringing work home after school with you and working in the evenings is a non-negotiable. Maybe it's a non-negotiable 3 days a week. You'll need to decide what your non-negotiables are as far as your time goes. Do you have a non-negotiable about your lunchtime? Think about it in terms of when do you need breaks? You need a break every evening. You do. You need a break on the weekends, 100%. And you need a break during the school day. Maybe that break is just your lunchtime and you really won't do any work during that time, even if it's just those 15 minutes that you wind up carving out for yourself. But somehow you need a break. So what are you going to do and how are you going to do it? Schedule that time now and write it in on your calendar, because if that time is there and you've already said this is non-negotiable, I am not going to work during these times, then when you go to plan your time for everything else, it's in there. And you'll work with the time that you have for everything else. That doesn't mean that you won't ever have to adjust it, but that's okay. It's better to adjust knowing that you need free time and you're reserving time for yourself first than it is to try and fit free time in, because that never works. Number 4, you need a plan for your planning and grading time. I know that we feel like we plan and grade all the time, but you shouldn't be. When will you do your planning? When will you do your grading? You need to plan for this in advance, long before school starts, because it is most efficient if you batch it. And batching means that you do a bunch of it all at once. So if you're doing a lot of planning all at once, then you would schedule time all at once to do it instead of constantly planning. You could plan a little every day, and that's fine, but you need a block of time that's reserved for that so that you're not trying to scramble and figure out when you're going to get your planning done. The same is true for your grading. You can do your grading once a week. You could do your grading a little bit every day, however it is that works best for you, but you need to plan for when you're going to get that done instead of trying to fit it in all the time. So make a plan and schedule that time as well. And last but not least, number 5, you need an organized electronic filing system. So much of our electronic systems just kind of happen. And it becomes this happenstance kind of convoluted set of files that sometimes aren't as easy to use and find things as we'd like them to be. Well, now's your chance. That doesn't mean you have to go back and refile everything right now. You can go back and do that if you want, but you need to have a system going forward. What is it that you're going to do and how will things be organized? So that means that all you're going to do is you're going to decide how each and every subject and all the different kinds of items that you have are going to be organized. What kind of folders do you need? Will folders be embedded in folders? What does that look like? It needs to be a thoughtful, organized system for how it is you will not only file things, but also how you can quickly access them. How often has it been that you have put something and filed it somewhere on your computer and thought, oh, that makes perfect sense, and then 2 weeks later, you can't find it, right? I know that everything's searchable, but sometimes when we name things, maybe we can't find the right one, and suddenly you can't find that file, right? So create an organized system so that you can be super efficient. It doesn't take long. This is something that you can do in just a little bit of time, but it will pay off big later. So here's your marching orders. Do a 10-minute tidy in your home each evening as practice. This means that you're practicing that 10-minute tidy and you're working on getting your own home organized and everything put away at the end of every day. It'll feel good, I promise. And you're practicing that so that you're super great at it and you've worked out all the kinks before you head to school with this system. Number 2, grab my paraphrase worksheet and get it done. Then practice your paraphrase in the morning each day in the mirror. It takes 1 minute. If you do this every single day this summer, guess what? By the end of summer, it will be so automatic and you'll be ready. Next, take 20 minutes, set a timer, and plan your non-negotiables for your time for the school year. What are you not willing to spend your time on, or what times are you reserving for yourself for you to rest, recharge, and rejuvenate because you need it? You will be a happier, more joyful teacher all year long if you do this. Then take another 20 minutes and plan how and when you'll grade and plan next year. Now, this might take less time than that, but you might have to be creative. And I have actually an episode where I get very specific about this, and I'll link it in the show notes. It has all kinds of suggestions that will help you think creatively about how to do this. Then take another 20 minutes and plan how you want your files to be organized on your computer. Electronic files can become a hot mess, so figure out how it is you want them to be organized, create all the folders that you need, and then walk away. You don't actually have to file anything unless you want to. This is just getting your system set up. If you decide you want to go back and file things you already have into this system, by all means, go ahead. But you don't have to. You can simply start fresh from where you are now, and then as you use things, you can refile them or move them into these files throughout the year. And that's it. I have links to all the resources and the free paraphrase worksheet mentioned in this episode in the show notes on my website at www.hopeineducation.com/podcast. So that's it, my teacher friends. We're out of time and I'm out of breath. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you liked today's episode, I'd love it if you'd go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and leave a review. While you're there, hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. Also, you can continue the conversation online with me in my Facebook group, the Teach Joyfully Podcast Community, where elementary teachers can connect, get help, and encouragement for all kinds of education and parenting topics. You can find the show notes and link to all the resources mentioned in today's episode on my website at www.hopeineducation.com/podcast. And remember, a happy teacher is a good teacher. Until next time, teach joyfully and take care of you.